You do not experience the world as it is, you experience the world as you are. Every act, every thought is a seed planted in the vast soil of consciousness, and nothing returns void. To betray a good soul is not merely an act against another, it is an act against oneself, for the law is perfect and does not forget. The one who walks in truth is never truly harmed, for the one who deceives sets in motion an inescapable reckoning. This is the price of betrayal, not imposed by an external force, but by the divine law within. You do not see the world as it is, you see it as you are. Every event in your life, every face you encounter, every circumstance that unfolds before you is nothing more than a reflection of the consciousness you occupy. There is no injustice, no betrayal, no deception that is external to you, for the world you move through is the shadow cast by the assumptions you hold. If you find yourself betrayed, understand that it is not by accident, nor is it by the force of another's will. It is instead the perfect outpicturing of a state you have assumed, whether consciously or unconsciously. The law is impersonal, precise, and unwavering. What you accept as true within, you must encounter without. Likewise, when one betrays another, especially a soul that is pure, loving, and true, he is not deceiving the other so much as he is deceiving himself. For every man moves through a world that mirrors the deepest convictions of his own heart. To betray a good soul is to make the assumption that treachery, deceit, and dishonor can be hidden, that the fabric of reality is blind to intention. But there are no secret places in consciousness. The one who moves in deception has already shaped the conditions of his own downfall. The betrayal of another is merely the first scene in a play whose ending has already been written by the act itself. It may appear in the immediate moment that the betrayer has gained something, that he has taken advantage of another's goodness and walked away untouched. But what he does not see is the structure of the unseen world, the silent but absolute law that governs all things. Just as one cannot plant thorns and reap figs, one cannot sow treachery and reap peace. The world may be slow to reveal it, but nothing is ever lost or forgotten in the great law of consciousness. There are those who move in purity, who live in faith, whose very essence radiates goodness. These souls are not weak. They are not naive. They are the keepers of divine power. And when they are wronged, it is not their destruction that is set in motion, but the undoing of those who have trespassed against them. The good soul, being aligned with truth, remains under the protection of a law that never fails. They may weep for a moment, they may feel the sting of betrayal, but their world will reshape itself to restore all that was lost, and more. For they do not dwell in lack, they do not abide in fear. Their consciousness, being pure, attracts only that which is in harmony with their highest good. The one who betrays, however, is not so fortunate. He has placed himself in a state of separation from truth, from love, from the harmony of the divine order. And the state he has assumed must bear fruit in kind. He may evade earthly consequences for a time, he may appear to flourish, but the law is never marked. A man cannot escape his own consciousness, and if he has woven deceit into the fabric of his being, it will show itself in his life. He will lose in ways he never expected, for the law moves in ways unseen, returning to every man the harvest of his own planting. If you have ever been betrayed, do not grieve as though you have lost something. The only thing lost is that which does not belong in your world. The betrayal was never against you, it was against the one who committed it. And if you hold steadfast in your knowing, if you remain in the assumption of love, abundance, and divine justice, you will see the truth unfold before your eyes. The one who betrayed will look upon his own reflection and shudder, for he will come to know that he has only betrayed himself. The good soul, untouched and unshaken, will rise, because it is law. There is no injustice in the world that goes unanswered, for the law is exact and unwavering. Every act, every intention, every thought a man holds within himself is a seed planted in the soil of his own consciousness, and the harvest is inevitable. There is no escaping it, no bargaining with it, no pleading for an exception. The law knows only fulfillment. When a man betrays another, especially one who has done him no wrong, he sets into motion an effect that he himself must one day experience. It does not matter if the world sees, if no one bears witness to his act, if he walks away believing himself to be untouched. The law has already taken account, and its workings are far beyond human perception. Many believe they can escape the consequences of their actions, that time and silence will erase what has been done, but nothing is ever truly forgotten in the great consciousness that governs all things. The world we see is merely the outpicturing of what has already been set in motion within. When one deceives another, when one breaks the trust of a good soul, he has not merely committed an act against another. He has placed himself in a state of betrayal, of deception, of dishonor. Deception, and because the law is perfect, that state must express itself in his own life. It may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow, but it will come, and it will be inescapable. The man who moves in betrayal believes he is acting upon another, but in truth he is only shaping his own experience. The world is but a mirror, reflecting back to him what he has assumed to be true. If he has assumed he can take what is not his and suffer no consequence, he will soon find himself in a world where loss becomes his portion. If he has assumed that love and trust are things to be manipulated, he will awaken one day to a reality where he himself is surrounded by falsehood, where no one stands by him in truth. The law is not cruel, it is simply exact. It does not punish, it fulfills. It does not seek vengeance, it restores balance. And what of the good soul, the one who has been betrayed? He may grieve, he may feel the sting of injustice, but he need not fear. He is not the one who has stepped out of alignment with divine order. The one who walks in truth remains protected, even in his sorrow. What has been taken from him will return in ways he cannot yet see. For the law does not merely restore, it multiplies. The one who is wronged in love will find greater love. The one who is deceived will be led into deeper wisdom, and the one who has been cast aside will rise into something far greater than what was lost. The betrayer has only set the stage for his own downfall, while the one who was betrayed has been set upon a path of elevation. If you ever find yourself tempted to deceive another, to take advantage of the kindness of a good soul, stop and consider the law that governs all things. You are not acting against another, you are acting against yourself. You are writing the script of your own future, sealing the fate of your own experience. The law is not mocked, it does not make exceptions. The act may seem small, the gain may seem great, but what is gained through deceit is never truly kept. It will slip through the hands of the betrayer like sand through open fingers, and when he is left empty-handed, he will realize too late that he was only ever dealing with himself. The universe is precise. It returns to each man what he has sent forth, pressed down and running over. If you wish to walk in peace, walk in truth. If you desire abundance, act in integrity. If you long for love, embody love itself. For as surely as the sun rises, what you send out into the world must come back to you. The law is exact, and it does not fail. The power of assumption is the unseen force that shapes reality, molding the world according to the convictions held within. It is the silent architect of destiny, working with absolute precision, never questioning, never faltering. Every man lives by what he assumes to be true, whether he is aware of it or not. And the assumption is always fulfilled, for consciousness does not distinguish between good and evil, right or wrong. It simply gives form to that which is believed. When a man betrays a good soul, he assumes himself to be beyond consequence. He believes, whether consciously or unconsciously, that he can deceive, manipulate, or exploit another without disrupting the order of his own life. But assumption is law, and the law works both ways. Just as the assumption of love, trust, and abundance brings forth a life filled with harmony, the assumption of dishonesty and treachery calls forth a reality steeped in chaos. The one who betrays is not free from the law. He has only entered into an assumption that will, in time, unfold into form. In the moment of betrayal, the deceiver may feel powerful, in control, even victorious. He has taken advantage of another's kindness, misused another's trust, and walked away with what he perceives as gain. But what he does not realize is that his very act has solidified his assumption that he is a betrayer, a deceiver, one who cannot be trusted. This assumption does not remain contained within the act itself. It spreads, growing like a seed planted in the depths of consciousness, It is not the betrayal that brings the downfall, it is the state of being that the betrayal affirms. The betrayer has cast himself into a world where deception rules, where loyalty is fleeting, where the same cunning he used against another will be turned against him. What he has done to another, he has done to himself. He has assumed that trust can be broken without consequence, that kindness can be exploited without repercussion. And so he has entered a reality where he himself will never truly know loyalty, where he will be surrounded by those who mirror his own dishonor. He may not see it immediately, but the law is patient. The assumption will manifest at the appointed hour, and when it does, he will not recognize it as his own creation, yet it will be. On the other hand, the one who has been betrayed must guard his assumption, for here lies the true test. It is easy to fall into the trap of bitterness, to assume that goodness is weakness, that trust is foolishness. But to accept this belief is to step into the very same state as the betrayer, to cast oneself into a world where love is absent, where deception reigns. The good soul must hold firm, must know that he is not the one who is lost, but the one who has been freed. He has been released from what does not belong in his world, from one who could not walk in truth. If he remains in the assumption of love, in the certainty of divine justice, he will find that what was taken will return to him, magnified beyond measure. The law does not fail. It does not overlook an assumption, nor does it make exceptions. Every man moves in the world he has created within himself. The betrayer has built his own downfall, not because he is being punished, but because he has chosen a state that can lead nowhere else. The betrayed, if he holds steadfast in faith, will rise, not because he has sought vengeance, but because he has remained aligned with truth. Consciousness is the only reality, and the assumption held within it is the force that determines all things. Let no man think he can escape it, for in the end, each will meet himself in the world he has imagined. A good soul is not merely a person of kindness, but one who walks in truth, aligned with the highest laws of the universe. Such a soul does not move in deception, nor does it seek to harm, for it understands that all things return to the sender. To betray such a soul is not merely an act of dishonor, it is an act of self-destruction. Even when wronged, even when deceived, the good soul does not fall, for the foundation upon which he stands is unshakable. The world often mistakes kindness for weakness, purity for naivety. Many believe that to be good is to be vulnerable, that those who live in love are easily taken advantage of. But this is the greatest illusion. The good soul does not rely on the shifting circumstances of the world, nor does he place his faith in the fleeting nature of human loyalty. His foundation is deeper, anchored in the unchanging reality of divine justice. When he is wronged, he does not need to seek retribution, for the law moves on his behalf. He may experience sorrow, he may feel the sting of betrayal, but he will not be broken. Instead, he will be elevated, for no act against him can truly harm him. Every wrong done to him becomes the instrument of his rise. But what of the one who betrays such a soul? He believes in his ignorance, that he has gained something, that through deception he has taken what was not his and escaped without consequence. But the law cannot be fooled, for it operates with perfect precision. He has not truly betrayed another, he has only betrayed himself. The act of treachery does not remain isolated. It is a seed planted deep within his own consciousness, and it will bear fruit in his due season. The good soul is like fertile ground, rich with abundance, overflowing with grace. To wrong such a soul is to cut oneself off from the source of life, to sever the very connection that could have led to one's own growth. The one who betrays does not realize that he has only removed himself from the flow of divine blessings. He may prosper for a moment, he may seem to flourish, but soon he will see that what he gained through deception was never truly his to keep. That which was stolen will turn to dust in his hands, and the emptiness left behind will echo through his life. But the good soul, he does not lose. He may have been deceived, but he is not diminished. He may have been taken advantage of, but he is not defeated. For the law does not leave him empty. It restores, it multiplies, it elevates. If one door is closed, another will open, greater than the first. If one person has wronged him, he will be led to others who will honor him. He does not need to fight, nor does he need to seek revenge, for his justice is woven into the very fabric of reality. The one who betrays will come to see the truth not because he is punished, but because the law cannot be escaped. He will look back and realize that in deceiving another, he only deceived himself. He will see the good soul rise untouched by his treachery, and he will understand, too late, that he has lost something far greater than he ever knew. But the good soul, he will walk on, strengthened, uplifted, untouched by the darkness that sought to harm him. So those who walk in truth can never be truly betrayed. The law is their shield, and grace is their reward. There is no escape from consciousness. Every man moves in the world he has assumed, shaped by the beliefs he holds, the acts he commits, and the state of being he embodies. Betrayal is not merely an action, it is a condition, a state that one enters, and like all states, it must bring forth its own fulfillment. The one who deceives, who manipulates, who walks in treachery, is not free from his actions. He is bound to them, for he has cast himself into a reality where betrayal exists and where he himself will experience its consequences. Yet there is no punishment in the traditional sense. The universe does not seek to inflict suffering, it merely fulfills what has been set in motion. The one who betrays has shaped his own downfall, not because an external force seeks vengeance, but because he has placed himself in a state that must bear fruit according to its nature. If a man sows seeds of dishonor, he will not reap a harvest of peace. If he moves in deception, he will find himself surrounded by those who deceive. The law is not cruel, it is simply exact. It grants to every man what he has claimed for himself through his assumptions, his actions, and his inner convictions. But what of redemption? Is there a way out for the one who has wronged another? Can the betrayer escape the fate he has written for himself? The answer lies not in regret, not in empty apologies, but in true repentance. To repent is not to feel sorry, it is to change one's state of being. It is to abandon the consciousness of betrayal and step into the consciousness of truth. For as long as a man remains in the same state, he will continue to experience its consequences, no matter how much he wishes otherwise. But the moment he shifts, truly shifts, the world must shift with him. Repentance is not in words, nor is it in external actions. It is a movement of the inner being. The one who has betrayed must come to recognize that his actions were not against another, but against himself. He must see with absolute clarity that he has only ever wronged his own consciousness, shaping a reality that will bring him sorrow. And in seeing this, he must abandon the old state, stepping into a new awareness, one that aligns with truth, with honor, with love. When this shift is genuine, the world will reflect it. The chain of consequences set in motion by betrayal will begin to dissolve, not through force, but through the transformation of the individual who set them into motion. And what of the one who was betrayed? He has already been set upon a path of elevation, for the law does not abandon those who walk in truth. If he remains steadfast in his assumption of goodness, of abundance, of divine justice, he will see all things restored to him. He need not seek retribution, for retribution is built into the very fabric of reality. He need only remain in his knowing, in his certainty that the law is working on his behalf. And as he does, he will rise, untouched by the actions of another. To betray is to step into darkness, to sever oneself from the flow of divine order. To walk in truth is to remain aligned with power, with abundance, with grace. Each man chooses his state, and in that choice he determines his fate. The law does not change, nor does it falter. It is eternal, unshakable, and absolute. Every act returns in kind. Every assumption fulfills itself. Every state finds its reflection in the world. And in the end, each man meets only himself.